Hello. I went climbing this morning. It was amazing. I think I've mentioned in a past episode just how good you feel when you work out in the morning. Specifically, I go climbing. I just arrive at work, a place where I don't especially want to be, and I'm full of energy. And this morning I went climbing. So as a result, my day is automatically a good day. The thing about climbing, I was thinking about it today. It's an unusual sport. It's not easy to access. It's quite expensive. And if you start any sport, kind of the bar of entry, I suppose you call it, is not enormously high for most sports, especially most popular sports. You want to play football, basketball, you get a ball, you'll suck at it when you start, but you can still kick it, you can still bounce a ball, throw it. But with climbing, as soon as you begin, it becomes obvious that this is something different, that it hurts in weird ways, it demands physical strength in places where you don't naturally have it. And I remember when I started, the first time I went, feeling extremely discouraged. I climbed and I thought, oh, this is horrible. My forearms are killing me. I got tired really quickly. And then you see that you just climbed, a low level climb. And there's all these other levels above that. The funny thing with climbing as well is that you'll find that there, as opposed to many other sports, you'll find that there's kids in there climbing and they're better than you. And they're really good. And women much better than you. Light years ahead of you. And that's truly humbling. So I think that's the main reason I love climbing so much, is that much like a video game, you can see your improvement. There are numbers, levels to achieve. So you can see your improvement quite easily. But also it requires a lot of perseverance. Another thing I love about it is when I'm able to complete a climb I was struggling with, going back to it and seeing how easy it is once you've done it, which I suppose in a way is a principle of just how life works. When you've done a certain journey once, the second time you do it, it seems faster because you know what's happening. So it's not as novel. And the more you do it, the more that familiarity builds. I remember the first time I thought of this, I was on the mezzanine in the climbing gym where we go. So these climbs are not as high. And it was a green, I think level 4, that were required to put fingers in very tiny holes. And it was tricky. The starting position was uncomfortable. Required to be like this with one leg out. And the first time, I got halfway through, my fingers were killing me. And there was a guy who was really good at climbing, and he said, "Oh, you got this, keep going." And so I did. I left it for a few minutes, did something else, took a break, came back, and eventually I got it. And it was really arduous because I hadn't figured it out. I was mostly using brute force to do it. And, I ended up completing it. The very last hold, the first time I got there, seemed super difficult to get to. And so I completed it. And at the time, my thinking was, okay, I've done it. I don't need to do it again. I've done it. It's done. I can be happy with myself. But I came back to it. And I came back to it. I tried again. And I did it relatively easily in comparison to the first time, because I knew the route. I knew how to position my body. It wasn't a case of strength. It was just a case of understanding how not to lose energy, how not to waste energy. And so I did it, and I went back and did it again and again, because the feeling you get from now having conquered, that challenge that seemed almost impossible at your first attempt is great. I keep looking at my camera because it was malfunctioning today. I don't know what's happening, but I can't plug it in while I'm recording, so I used a bigger battery. The camera is slightly elevated now. I don't know what's happening, but it keeps shutting off out of nowhere. And so that's why I keep going back to the climbing gym, is because there are these climbs that I was unable to do. And now I know that if I persevere, eventually I'll be able to do them. And once again, I think that's just a principle of life is, well, the more important principle that I would like to apply in my life in general is push through until you succeed, even if it's not pretty, even if you had to bully yourself through. You had to push super hard. Just do it. And next time it will be easier. A few weeks ago, I completed a music video I worked on for a year, and it was hard. In the last week of working on it, the iPad stopped working that I was using to make the animation. So I finished the animation on Illustrator. Before that, we lost the pen. Before that, I broke the pen. So I did, 10% of the video, or even 20, drawing on the iPad of my finger. And so many moments where I lost motivation throughout that year. So besides the fact that I'm quite ashamed at how unprofessional I was in this whole process, I did it. I finished it. And there were countless obstacles, myself included, me being the biggest one. Is this boy recording? Yeah, boy. Is it? Yes, there were countless obstacles, and it was not pretty. But now that I've done it, I know I can do it again, faster, better. So I guess that's the lesson. Just push through, get it done, and then you can reap the reward, and you'll be able to do it again better. But you have to do it once. I suppose that relates to my tendency to be a perfectionist. This script I'm working on, I would like to get it done quite soon. I've been working on it for years. I think that's the missing piece. Recently, a friend at the gym, Stefan, gave me a book on writing. And I started reading it. And I thought, this is not the thing I'm missing, because all of this I've heard before. I know structure, conflict, etc. But I suppose the answer I'm looking for is not in the book. It's within me. It's a question of how I approach the act of writing. So I just need to stop being a perfectionist, get it done, accept that my first script that I complete will be dog shit and will not be to my satisfaction. It will be the worst script I ever write. Just accept that, and then move on and finish another one and another and another one and another one, etc. until I can make something I'm proud of. In other news, Dricus du Plessis lost that fight, bro. He lost. Someone commented recently on my podcast. Nah. I was going to watch the fight again. But nah. I'm going to stick to my original reaction. Sean Strickland won. Another thing I learned at the climbing gym, which is my favorite place in the world right now, is something I've noticed about Stefan specifically. He's a social butterfly. And it seems like he's talking to people as if he knows them, which I think is an idea I've heard of before. If you're socially awkward, if you don't know how it works, if you're awkward and you want to approach someone, talking to them as if you know them, not being awkward about it. And I've seen him do it a few times. Now, the thing is, he talks to everyone, so I'm not even sure if he has talked to these people before. But once it seemed like he was talking to someone new. Once he was talking to someone new. And it felt like they were friends, and then he asks him for his name. And I realized, oh no, that's not a friend, that's someone he just met. And that's when I realized that he just talked to him as if he knew him. Now, obviously, in a climbing gym, it's easier. We're all here doing the same thing. Naturally, it's more natural to approach people and talk to them. But I suppose in real life, you can apply that principle as well. Thinking about what do you have in common in that moment. I suppose if you're waiting for the bus and you want to talk to someone who's also waiting for the bus, you could talk about that, which is something that happens a lot and that is quite annoying, I guess, for most people. But the principle is the same. Forget that they're a stranger. Which also links me to another thing I want to talk about. I saw a video by Alan Richardson, who's Reacher. He plays Reacher in the show Reacher. And I didn't know anything about him. All I knew was that I like his vibe, the actor. I've watched the first season of Reacher. It's not amazing. It's not, top tier television. But there's something about it that's truly compelling and that made me want to watch everything and made me eager to see the next season. And I knew that it was a lot of it was down to him. The way he was portraying the character, just his energy, there's something pure about him. So I think I saw the video first of his Insta Church YouTube channel where he shares wisdom. And then I watched an interview of his where he talks in more depth about his life. And my conclusion was that I was right. There's something about him, about how open he is, honest, and vulnerable, whilst being this, towering figure, this huge man, and successful. A guy who has everything going for himself. Just reminding you that it's not a question of appearances can be deceiving. It's just a question of people are people. Being good looking and tall and successful, etc., doesn't preclude you from feeling negative emotions. And so in that video specifically, which was the kind of eureka moment, his short form Insta Church video, where I thought, okay, that's why I like the guy, there's something about him. He talks about desire and objectification. And he talks about it in a way that I've not heard before, or maybe somewhat, but it didn't hit the way it did when he talked about it. The idea of objectification. And he links it to the Bible, which, he's Christian and he likes the Bible. And when he links it to the Bible, to me, it made it more powerful. I'm not Christian, I haven't read the Bible. I know of the Bible, I know passages, I know some of the wisdom that is in there. But that video made me think, I think it's time now that I read the Bible, that there's a reason this book has been recommended to me throughout my whole life, and to us, to everyone. I don't think anyone, definitely no one watching this video on YouTube can say that this book, that is the Bible, hasn't been recommended to them. Now, it sounds weird when I say the book has been recommended, because when you think about the Bible, you link it to Christianity and it's this institution. But the wisdom in the book is something we're all aware of. In many ways, it is how we live our lives. And when he linked it to the Bible, I thought, I should read the book. And so he mentions desire. And he starts by talking about pornography and how when people engage in pornography or consume pornography, they are objectifying a human being. And the idea of objectification is that you stop looking at a person as a person, essentially. You look at them as an object. The object of your lust. You want to jack off, so you watch a porn, and you forget that there's a person on the other side. And that carries over to life in general. Porn is this extreme thing, but our lives have been so sexualized. If you go on Instagram, if you have an Instagram, most men follow a bunch of, Instagram models. And so that it's just normal to see highly sexualized images of women. And, that's by choice, I suppose. But then you go everywhere. Music videos are softcore porn nowadays. Everything is extremely sexualized. And so we are trained to objectify, not just women, physical bodies. We're trained to objectify each other. That's something that comes naturally to us. And then he links this idea of objectification in the case of lust, looking at the person as a body, purely with lustful intention and not as a fellow human being. He links that to serial killers and murder, and how a serial killer, what they are after essentially is being in this position where they have total control over the person that they're killing. They themselves feel like God, And to feel that, they need to make that other person, who is their equal in the eyes of God, supposedly, make them an object, make them nothing. And then they can get this sense of power from killing that person. And so Ted Bundy, apparently he brings quotes, describe this feeling and this approach of objectifying people in that sense. And then to conclude, he brings the Bible into this. And he says, one of the 10 commandments is that you shall not murder. Another one is you shall not commit adultery. And it always felt weird to me, the idea that adultery was in the 10 commandments. Because in the law, murder is a huge offense. Oh my God, I can't speak today. Murder is a huge offense that the law will punish severely, right? We all know this. Murder is not something you can just do. Now, I suppose adultery is officially cheating on someone you're married to, I guess, right? It's not just cheating, it's when you're married. Nonetheless, people cheat all the time, and they don't get thrown in jail for it. And even, forget about marriage. Just the process of cheating, I suppose, is what the Bible is condemning. This idea that you shouldn't cheat on the person you're in a relationship with, right? And once again, the idea that you shall not murder is one of the commandments, and you shall not cheat on your partner is one of them, to me felt wrong, because murder is much more grave than cheating. And once again, in the world we live in, we all know people who've cheated. Many people have cheated. It seems to be something that just happens. I don't know anyone who's murdered anyone, not personally. That's not just something that happens, right? And what I realized from his video is that the point is not the acts themselves, is that by objectifying someone, by murdering them, or by committing adultery and, lustful objectification, it's committing an affront to God, I suppose. It's the ultimate affront. We objectify people all the time. People who are servicing us, waiters, blah, blah, blah. We don't have the time or the energy to look at them as fully fledged humans a lot of the time. It just happens. The bus driver, you don't think of the bus driver as a human person. That might sound weird, but you don't. Why did he drive off and not let me get on when I had just arrived, a second too late? He could have just stopped. Why did the driver stop here? Why did he take so long? Blah, blah, blah. People don't think of bus drivers as people. They're just the bus, essentially. They're just an extension of the vehicle. But then murder and adultery are at the extreme of this process of objectification. And objectification is a result of desire. Once again, you kill someone because you want that feeling of being God. You cheat on someone because you want that feeling you get from having sex, I suppose, with a new person, knowing it's wrong. You want that. So desire is the root of that evil, you could say. And so I thought about it in terms of, once again, how does that apply to me? I wasn't planning on killing anyone. That's not really useful. I wasn't planning on cheating either. But then if you're not planning on going to the extreme, how are you still straying from the right path? How are you going outside of where you should be, right? Once again, I'm not planning on cheating, but what are the ways in which I am moving towards that, in a sense, right? When I was with my ex, I used to watch porn still, which is just weird, right? That is porn cheating? I watch podcasts where people talk about that. Is it cheating? The point, once again, is you go back to the desire. You are with this person, you're married to that person, blah, blah, blah. Why are you fulfilling that need by watching other people having sex? Your desire is being oriented in the wrong direction, and it's disrespectful to your partner. So yeah, of course, watching porn is wrong when you're in a relationship, specifically I'm talking about, right? Yeah, that's wrong. People who want to say, no, he's just watching a video, blah, blah, blah. No, the point is that he is, it's a softer version of it, but he's cheating on you, or she's cheating on you, but mostly it will be men. He's directing his desire in this direction to objectify these people to get a shot of dopamine. And so now when you start, peeling it back, if the goal is to essentially be in total balance with yourself, I suppose, if you're not doing the most extreme thing, how can you start getting rid of the things that are still, lesser versions of that? And so I used to, but I don't follow a bunch of big booty models on Instagram. I thought it was no biggie, right? All men do that. We like visual candy. It's looking pretty dark in here. That's nothing. But then people start breaking it down. No, the men do that, and they like the pictures. Is a man liking another woman's sexy picture cheating? Blah, 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 these questions. And then they say, yeah, but he's liking it because somewhere in his mind he's thinking, perhaps she could notice him. Right? This idea of this impossible thing happening of the woman somehow noticing. So he's giving himself a chance to cheat. But the point is, he's already cheated by coveting, desiring, this thing, by objectifying this woman, instead of cherishing what he has. That's the point. The desire, once again, is being pointed in the wrong direction. And then, you peel the layers some more to something that is less extreme than porn, even less extreme than liking models' pictures online, and to something that probably almost everyone does, right? We don't all watch porn, and even a bit more people than porn do look at sexy imagery on purpose, and then even more people will look at people they meet and think about it in that way, right? You, as a man, you have a wife, you have a girlfriend, whatever, and you see other women on the street, and you see a beautiful woman, and your mind automatically thinks, wow, that's a beautiful woman. Some people will go to more extremes, fantasizing, and some men, less so. But once again, the point is, are you cheating? No, of course not. I mean, no less than when you go to the extreme of actually cheating, which is, after porn, I suppose. But what you're doing is, one, you're objectifying that person, which is something negative. You're not seeing them as a human. And two, you are pointing your desire in the wrong direction. And so, once again, I haven't been to the extreme of cheating, but I was in a relationship where I was watching porn, when I was following models on Instagram, and where I was looking at women on the street and thinking, wow, she's beautiful, blah, 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 all kinds of erotic imagery in my mind. And now I'm at a point where most of that is gone, but I still experience what, would be considered just a normal emotion of appreciating, people would say, beauty in general. And so I'm wondering, based on what, Alan Richardson talks about, the idea that, is it something, once again, that I've been trained to do and that can be undone? Is it just is it normal? Or is it something that I can slowly but surely take control over and get rid of? And I'm saying this, it's not like it's intense. I don't see a beautiful woman and feel something intense, but I still will look at a beautiful woman and, objectify her, I suppose, to a degree. And so, as healthy as I feel in that aspect, I'm questioning, is it possible to go even further and to not objectify people in that sense, in general? So yeah, thank you, Alan Richardson. And when he talks about it, he goes to the extreme of, we should not, objectify people at all in general. Desire is negative. That's the conclusion. But I feel like that's a bit too abstract. Even what I'm talking about, I consider myself definitely on the healthier scale when it comes to lust. And, do I even need to put any time and energy into reeling that back? It's not really causing any problems in any way. But yeah, the main thing was the idea of objectification. When you desire someone or something, you're objectifying them. So, two negative things: objectification and desire. Now, desire can be positive, obviously, but when you think about the world we live in currently, where we have the internet, which is this, other reality on steroids, you can't navigate the internet without being bombarded with images trying to sell you something. Most likely there'll be sexy women at some point. You go on a streaming website to watch a movie, there'll be almost pornographic images. You go on YouTube, there'll be ads. So this intensified, other reality is constantly trying to make you desire things. It's what we've been trained to do that since we were children. Desire. You go in the book when you're a kid, and I remember as a kid, I would circle the toys on the book with all the toys from the stores and circle, I want this, I want that, I want this. So we're trained to desire things. And I definitely understand how that's negative. And once again, I don't consider myself someone who desires that much of anything except growth. But I still understand how I can, especially the thing that adds going on the internet period, how that's stimulating that energy of wanting things and feeling, like you're not enough. You need that new phone, new toy. You're on Instagram, you see that guy working out. Okay, you need that body. All this stuff. I keep going back to that week I spent not going on the internet at all, and how I felt balanced and good overall. I wanted to link it to something else, but I can't recall. Where was I going with this? Well, I'm going to have to really make this brighter. Yeah, point. The thing with desire overall, I suppose overall it is negative in the sense that it makes, the point with desire is that you feel like you're not enough, but that thing could make you whole, so to speak. Desiring anything, friends, relationships, objects, it's always to fulfill a sense that you have a hole somewhere. And it doesn't work. The only way you can fulfill that is within yourself. If, it's funny, I'm always thinking about this. In the past year, I've been truly careless with my money. And and it's not like I have a lot of money to spare, but whatever I had to spare, I didn't spend it wisely. And when you're in that situation where you don't have a lot of money, you tell yourself, if I had more money, then I'll be okay. I would be okay, right? But the point with that principle is that you are who you are. And so if you get more money, you'll just waste more money and you'll still be the same person in the same struggle. If you think that getting in a relationship will make you whole, you'll still find a way to fuck it up and it will still not fulfill you. If you accept that where you are right now is where you're supposed to be and that you are everything you could ever be, and that you are your best currently, and truly accept that, not just tell yourself, which, it's not something I can do. I would like to be able to do it. I imagine maybe one day being able to do it. But if you just accept that you are currently in the only place you'll ever be, the present, that's the only place that exists. You are existing in that super beautiful, miraculous place that is the present, and you are the best version, the best thing possible. You are, everything. If you just accept that, you realize that in 10 years, maybe you'll be rich, maybe you'll be this, maybe you'll be that, but you'll still be in that exact same place of the present. So if currently in the present you think, oh, I'm too fat, oh, I'm not smart enough, oh, therefore I'm unhappy. In 10 years, maybe you'll be smarter, maybe you'll be skinnier, but you'll still hold on to that. You'll still feel like it's not enough because the best version of you exists in the future in your eyes. I mean, I do think to a degree that's what's keeping me afloat, is this idea, but it's hard to apply at all times, right? There's always going to be times where you think, oh, fuck's sake, I got no money left, I get paid in a week, that's frustrating. If only I was rich, if only I didn't have that problem. You always go back to that thought, that that way of thinking. It's like being in a room and there's this ever expanding bubble, and you have no space to breathe. You're just stuck against the wall and you can't move. And at times you get a little bit of air. That's that moment where you think to yourself, okay, I am everything I'm supposed to be, only the present exists. But then naturally, somehow, the bubble will keep expanding and will block that air. And you go back to, oh fuck, I'm dying, this is not good. Stuck against the wall. And maybe at some point you catch another bubble of air and you realize, oh, it's all good actually. That's how it feels like. What else do I have to say? Tell me. Yeah, I'm working on a new video. Super excited. And that's how you want it to happen, that every video is more exciting than the previous one and more ambitious, and you feel like you're growing. And I'm finally in that stage. So I have an idea for the next video. If I can convince the artist and if it all goes down, it could be a really fun video and a really great result. I guess that's all I have to say. I need to finish the planning to send it to him. The kind of mood board, the storyboard, send it to him, see how he feels. But if we end up going through the idea that I have, it would be kind of the ultimate project for me. Really using all the skills that I have on this one project, which sounds too good to be true. We shall see. It's also scary because, I tend to take too long because I think too much and then I discourage myself and I don't work on it for a few days and I go back to it for a music video. But this one would use photography, graphic design, illustration, blah, blah, blah. So that's many different disciplines where I could feel stuck at some point and, run away for a bit, and then the video could end up being finished in ages. So I guess it's a good test. Yeah, it's super exciting. Next thing. I do this thing weekly, and I've mentioned multiple times in the past how the point is not to get an audience, to get a lot of followers or anything like that. The point is to make it and to have the discipline to do it weekly. And although I've now gone past that discomfort, it was to get comfortable in front of the camera. And I was thinking about how I consume YouTube and how there's all this information on there. And I've mentioned this in the past also. It all ends up being entertainment. You watch 5 hours of YouTube in a day. You watch some Joe Rogan, some Dave Huberman, some Jordan Peterson, and you think, these are smart people giving me smart things to think about, so they make me smarter. But all it ends up being is entertainment. You don't really digest anything, you don't change, you don't grow. You might keep one piece of advice of information, but mostly it becomes entertainment. Mostly you just shut your brain off and you just consume this passively. And I was thinking about how my thing, I'm doing it weekly. I suppose I don't believe that it can be anything useful at the end of the day. I don't believe it can be something that helps anyone grow or anything like that. Because I'm talking every week, I change my mind. Mostly I don't know what I'm talking about. So I suppose the only benefit in this is in me doing it. That's about it, really. The only benefit is in me talking continuously for about an hour every week. That's the only thing positive that can come out of this, because on the other side, it just becomes entertainment. So yeah, food for thoughts. And last one, a question: why do I put my stuff online? Recently, specifically, it's been brought to my attention that people I know watch my stuff. And by my stuff, I mean just whatever I put online. I have a website with my work. I have this podcast thing, and then on my Instagram sometimes I put stories. And recently I've been putting stories of me climbing. And obviously, people interpreted that as me kind of showing off. And I suppose there's so many points, so many things to say about this. But I'll start by saying that obviously there's a part of me, and I can't give a percentage. I would say it's a smaller part of me, but there's a part of me that thinks, look how cool I am climbing that thing, right? There's a part of me thinking, look everyone, I'm climbing. No, that's there somewhere. But that's not the reason I do it, because every time I start kind of putting my things that I find interesting about my life online, I always end up stopping, because I don't get any fulfillment out of that. My goal is not to be famous. Some people are like that. Most people on these platforms, on YouTube, on Instagram, not most people, but a lot of people who are successful, that's what they want. They want eyeballs on them. They want a following, they want this, they want that, and they enjoy the fame. Now, the reason I'm struggling so much with this whole thing is that that's not something I want. I want to be successful in the different practices that I do in filmmaking, in photography, blah, blah, blah. And so, as arrogant as that sounds, I understand that when I become successful, because I do believe in myself that much, when I become successful in all these disciplines, I will exist outside of the real me. There'll be a version outside of that for people to, judge and look at and kind of ingest. Because that's the nature of the beast, is if you want to be a successful filmmaker, illustrator, graphic designer, photographer, blah, 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 ultimately, a version of you will exist on the internet. And there's a part of me that wants to kind of get ahead of that and be prepared for that. So that's one of the reasons that I try to force myself to kind of reveal myself. Another reason for the climbing stuff, for example, is that I film myself so I can see what I'm doing wrong. And there's also the fact that I like how through Instagram stories I'm able to go back in my archive and see wherever I was a year ago, 2 years ago. That's something that fascinates me. I remember when I started posting stories on Instagram, sometimes I go back through my archive, the very first one I posted, and I think, oh, that's what life was at this time. That's what it looked like. That's the thing that I decided to capture in that moment and share, because I felt like that meant something. I suppose you could immediately say, yeah, but why share it to everyone? Why not put it just for yourself? And I know it sounds stupid, but one reason is the whole Instagram thing is quite convenient. I'm kind of lazy and I'm really bad at organizing things, but I take tons of pictures and videos all day, every day of my life, of my family, blah, blah, blah. And then I never go back to them. Whereas Instagram feels like this thing where you put pieces of your life and people can look at them if they want, but it's also where you can naturally go back to and look back through the, my God, complete darkness. You yourself can look back at whatever you shared. Just like my own Instagram profile. It looks ugly, I don't really like the way it looks. But I can go back to the very first one I posted and think, oh, this was me then. This was what I was doing. I was doing posters, I was doing photos, I was doing music videos. I'm just fascinated by the idea of having a version of myself, as I said, existing forever online, where people can see this tapestry of who I am through the years, and where I can go and see that. Hoping that one day, as bad as the first few years on there were, as incompetent as I was, you can see a kind of progress, and something maybe one day that I could be proud of. But yeah, mostly it's just showing off. It's also interesting how people do think that it's me showing off when, I go climbing with my brother. And until I started filming myself, I had no idea how I looked on the wall. So look at my brother, who's much better than me, and how graceful and strong and powerful and resilient he is on the wall. And I think, wow, that's beautiful. Then I started filming myself and seeing, oh, okay, that's how I look. Just awkward. I'm taller, I'm longer. I just look awkward on the wall. And the wall looks a bit smaller when I'm on it because I'm a bit taller. So it looks like I'm struggling so much when I shouldn't be. So immediately my first, not even my first, just the way I feel when I look at myself climbing is, oh my God, why do you look so uncomfortable? Why are you struggling so much? Because what I'm used to seeing is my brother. The person that I watch climb is my brother, and I look at him, and to me that's what climbing looks like. And then I realize, oh, that's not what I look like. I look like I'm struggling. And so it's interesting to see. It's just interesting to be reminded that people look at you differently than how you look at yourself. And by saying they think that I think I'm bragging and stuff like that in general, or when I wear a tank top, for example, it's interesting to see that that's how they feel. Whereas me, from my perspective, even though I understand there is a part of vanity in those things, mostly when I wear a tank top, I think, I wish I was bigger because I'm really skinny. When I'm climbing, I think, I wish I was more graceful and stronger. I don't think, oh, look at how good I am at all. So we all know this, I suppose, that people, everyone has different perspective. But it's just weird to be told, hi, you're showing off, when your own perspective is, oh, you're showing how much you're struggling and how bad you are now, because in your head you're thinking, look how bad I am now because one day I'll be good. Yeah, I suppose that's all I'm doing when I push something on Instagram, when I make these podcasts. All I'm doing is saying, look how shitty I am now. Look how much I'm struggling. Look how bad I am at this, whatever it is I'm sharing. Because one day I'll be good. And so the only reason I have the confidence to put this out there is because I believe one day I'll be good. Yeah, I think that's about it. I really didn't feel like doing this podcast today. When I procrastinate, it makes it more and more difficult. And then the camera was acting up, so that gave me another excuse. But now it's done. I know what I'm going to title this one. I suppose I like the idea of, one thing I've talked about, many times is how much I like archiving things, being able to travel through time to the past and see how things were and see how things change. And I guess, that's one of the good things about the internet. All right, thank you. Have a good day. Have a good present moment. Have a good present. Thank you.